We are live. Hello and welcome to the We All Follow podcast. My name is Matt Fox. I am your host. You can find me on Twitter at Big Match Pro AFC. And today we continue our Euro 2024 Germany series with the second half of the round of 16 bracket. We're joined today by our illustrious guest, Ben, who never sleeps because he's always watching a soccer game somewhere. Ben Mattinson. You can find him on X at Ben underscore Mattinson underscore. How you doing today, Ben? You
Yeah,
good?
good.
You well?
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm good, buddy. Great to have you on. And let's just jump into it. We did a pretty quick dive with Nigel on the first half of the bracket. Again, follow us on X at We All Follow Pod. We did the left side of the bracket that you can see here on the screen with Nigel that dropped this morning. And so now let's get into the right side of the bracket, the side that many consider to be the easier half. And let's just start with the first fixture there on the top right, Romania Netherlands. So, what do you see? How do you see this match playing out?
Yeah, for me, this is the one out of a lot of them where I see an upset. I think you've got two teams with such a very different tournament so far. One, Netherlands, where on paper they've got so many great players to play in the top European leagues, um, but it's just not working. And there's a lot about what Koeman's doing. That's he's not getting the right balance of the midfield. Some of his team selection just doesn't quite make sense. There's a lot of times he's got players like Johnny Reinders and Joey Vim, and that they're both like number eights. That would be like there's the 6, the 8, and then the 10, but he plays both of them. He plays one of them, usually Reinders as a 10, and it's not really worked, that dynamic in the midfield. And they've tweaked it at times and put either Simmons there or Wijnaldum, and that's helped, but he's not quite getting it right. And I think as a coach, he's quite negative at times. He doesn't seem to get the best out of the players, and is Zertsky as well. He's not really getting much game time once he's been there. So, and then on the opposite side, there's Romania, who completely overperforming, like playing as a team, a cohesive team, and all throughout the team, there's so many really good performances. Particularly defensively, they all defend as a unit, and it makes them a lot harder to break down. You think those the four in midfield ahead of the defensive midfielder, they're all coming back and defending in a tight block. And I can just see Romania getting a result here. I'd probably say maybe 2-1 to Romania. Maybe I'm tempted to say 2-0 because I'm thinking the Netherlands going to be able to get a goal. But I think maybe what might happen is they'll equalise and then Romania will get another, or they'll be two ahead and then they'll get one late, but then don't manage to win. But definitely, when you're looking at the two, the biggest difference is one is playing as a team, and the other is a lot of individuals. And I think the individual brilliance of some of Netherlands players might help, but they've not got much of a goal threat. Striker wise, they've got Weghorst that they bring on sometimes, Gakpo. But to be honest, Gakpo off the left, coming in central, the two strongest defenders are probably on the right side for Romania. There's Ratiu at right back and Dragusin is the centre back. Those two have been immense the first few games. So I can't see Netherlands winning. I mean, obviously you can see them winning it, but I think this is one where Romania will go through. And you kind of want a bit of a shock, but let's see. I think, like I said, they've got the individual brilliance, so let's see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those situations when you look at this side of the bracket anyway, that out of these four, right, you're gonna have um, interesting quarterfinalists, no matter what, right? From both of these, from this side, generally speaking, and then you're obviously it might be a new finalist as well moving forward, depending on where you see the upsets. But it was the Netherlands, the last game that they had, they ended up getting the result, but like you said, it was definitely individual performances, and it wasn't necessarily like an overwhelming team win. And I think we're getting to the point in the tournament where you should really start to see the players that they're missing, right? The players that like Jurian Timber, who is still recovering from his injury, De Jong and Coop Miners, guys who weren't able to make it for the summer, and players that would have played a lot of minutes and solved some of the problems that you were talking about, you know. So I do think that that's one where we could see an upset, and you know, depending on who wins this next fixture, could make for a really interesting semifinals, and even potentially a finalist from this side of the bracket. So that brings us to the next fixture, which is Austria versus Turkey. I know this is like dark horse central, and funnily enough, the fixture that now everybody's talking about that nobody was talking about before. But how do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I think this one here is this game has the semi-finalist. I think one of Austria and Turkey will then beat Romania or Netherlands, and then it'll be them versus whoever on the other side, obviously. Because I think these two, it's hard to call it between the two of them. I want to say Austria because I think as a team, again, there's more of that that they used to playing with each other. They used to play in the Red Bull system, but the manager for Turkey is a very good manager, and they've got more of that. We're talking with tournaments, you need those moments occasionally, and when they've got guys like Yildiz, Ardigula, then there's Yilmaz has been great as well in the last game, but also some of the guys on the bench. I mean, they've got Atakoglu as well, but there's Kilik Soy as well. That then they haven't had a lot of. Some of them haven't had as many game time, have as much game time. So if they come on, and they get a bit of a moment, they could deliver as well. So there's plenty of players that even if they didn't play that well, Turkey, you could just get like a free kick late on and Chalanoglu scores in top corner, or they've got that about them, and they're more out of the two. I feel like they're more comfortable defending and holding onto a lead or trying to avoid conceding throughout. So I think with Austria, they'll go high intensity, pressing them like mad. But with Turkey, I feel like they can defend well and then get them on the counter. If they're able to
How do
finish
you
their
think
chance.
it's gonna play out with the missing players? Because you got a few players who have yellow card suspensions, right? So you have Wimmer for Austria, and then
Yeah.
you have Akaden and Kalinoglu for Turkey. How do you think those are gonna
Oh,
impact?
he's
Um,
missing, of course. Yeah.
how do you see that affecting their ability to cope on both
Yeah.
sides?
Yeah. I mean, no. To be fair, that would be huge. I think with Austria, it's less of a miss because Wimmer he is obviously a good attacking option, but I think they've got quite a few of the same type of level. Whereas in midfield, you can maybe say Kochu would drop back and play the double pivot next to Ihan, and then maybe you bring Gula maybe more central, plays attacking midfielder. But they've got options and they'll shuffle it around. I'm sure he'll find a way. I think in some of the games, he's played a different approach. They played a different approach in each game. I feel with Turkey, and they've got the he's rotated and able to keep a similar level of performance. So it'll be interesting. But there's definitely a few for Austria um, that have had really good tournaments as well, like Danzo and Baumgartner as well. There's a few players that they've really stood out. So I definitely think whoever wins this, I think it'll be a 2-1. I can't decide which way. I want to say Turkey. I think it'll be a 2-1 as well. Um, but whoever wins that will go through to the semi as well.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. It's gonna be a tight game. It's been interesting because um, Ragnick hasn't been afraid to change up the lineups, right? I
Yeah.
mean, Limer had a really awesome performance, and then he was on the bench the next one. So he's cool with tinkering and editing, adjusting, right? So I think on the tactical side, they're there, right? And it'll see how they can adapt to, the different faces and phases that Turkey can show. I think at this point with the options that they have, and that can that have been on the bench that might come in, the way that they can adapt to the game states, and like you said, their ability to sustain that defensive block can be the difference. I think it'll
Yeah,
be a tight one. I, my gut says that Turkey's gonna be able to get the difference maker, just because they have so many of those guys that can create something out of nothing, right? And like you saw that Guler strike from the other day, where I mean he was in the parking lot and he launched it into the top corner, right? And they have a couple guys who can do stuff like that and just create those magic moments. And at the end of the day, that's really what you need in the knockouts, is you just need a little bit of luck and one good kick, and that can send you through. So I'm going with Turkey on that one. I agree that Romania is gonna push through in the other match, and that brings us down to the topic du jour, which is England Slovakia. There's been a lot in the media with Ian Wright trying to help fix the the morass that is the England setup at this point, and just kind of spitballing and getting crucified for it in
yeah,
true Arsenal style. No better way than to kill your idols than an Arsenal fan.
yeah.
But
I don't get
in
it.
terms of the actual match, what how do you see this playing out? Do you think that there's been rumors, which the rumors are always true, that Mainu's going to come in for this next game? Do you think that's going to fix anything? Do you think that England, in spite of their deficiencies, can make it through, or do you think that there's a chance that Slovakia can stun the world?
Yeah, I think Manu starting is definitely big. It will make a big improvement to the midfield. When he came on in the second half, half time in the last game, it definitely made a difference to the midfield and the balance there, being able to bring the ball out. And also, he likes to get forward and combine with the other players in the attack. And he found Rice then doing the same, and it creates that more energy in the midfield to get in the final third a bit more. Um, I would say one of the issues I have with I think it's a better midfield, Mainu and Rice. One of the issues I have is both of them want to get forward. Both of them want to carry the ball forward and combine with others forward. And when we play a better team, there's going to be space left behind because we're not doing any advanced tactics. There's no one inverting into midfield or anything like that. So you're getting sometimes where both of them are pushing up, but if we quickly lose the ball, it creates that gap in behind. I don't think Slovakia are one where they'll have the quality to quickly pass around it. But it's something to be wary of, and it's also that's why I've been a big advocate of having Adam Wharton because I think he's a slightly different profile where he's more of a passer. He's not going to carry the ball far like Menu, and he can play it through the lines, which is something we've been lacking throughout the tournament. Um, I mean, Anthony Gordon came on, and one of the first things he did was play that ball through, which Menu flicked on to Palmer, and Palmer had a shot on target. It's like the first shot on target we've had in the whole tournament or whatever. Well, not literally, but you know what I mean. But that's been what we've missing. What we've been missing that those players that are going to straight away play it through the lines. And Gordon, I think, is someone that genuinely I think he should have started from the beginning. There's this thing where we're trying to get every player in, every name in, and it just damages how the team plays. I think when you're looking at Foden and Bellingham playing as the left winger and the second striker, attacking midfielder, number 10, it doesn't quite work. And when you then don't have, you've got Saka on one side, but Kane needs the runners in behind. It's only really Saka who's going to do that, and Bellingham will do it a bit, but there's no passes in midfield. You don't have any passes. Rice is an okay passer, but he's not to the higher levels going to play it through the line. So the balance is just all completely off. So I feel like if you add Manu in midfield, that will help. But I would still say if you had Wharton next to Rice and Gordon on the left, that will really help. And if we've got depends how much they play, but I would say I'd still be confident we could get like a 2-0 win or something. Um, but I don't think Slovakia are ones to just take lightly. I think they've got some really good players, and particularly there's two in particular that have been really impressive. David Hanko in defence, I think he's great defensively, but he really brings the ball out of defence, carrying it past a few people, and you often see him getting in and around the box, or he was like taking free kicks earlier on as well. And Lobotka at Napoli, like this guy is like, if in another world he would have played for prime Barcelona. Like he's that type of midfielder where you could imagine him playing in a midfield with Xavi and Iniesta, and he wouldn't be at the same level as them, but he wouldn't look massively out of place. He's that type of player. He's really tidy and can combine with everyone. Bit like Verratti. Verratti was one of those where you always felt like he could have played for like a prime Barcelona, but it never happened. Um, and he's going to be really important, and he's one of those with the quality where the space is in behind, one pass and they're in behind, so you have to keep him quiet, which is why Rice and Mainu pressing him might be, because of them being in midfield, they might be able to keep him quiet. But they're one of these again where they're really well organized teams so far, and they've made. I think the results they've got haven't shown how good they have been. I think they could have got better results in some of them. They're a bit unlucky. So I don't want to take them lightly, but I think we should still be able to get a win here.
Yeah, I think England should win. The question to me becomes is can they do it in the first 70 minutes? Because I'm not an expert, but it appears as though Bukayo Saka is on a hard minutes cap because he hasn't played past the 70th minute, regardless of the game state or score. So
Yeah,
he's going off after 70. I can guarantee you that, and that's happening no matter what. So the question becomes can you get the lead that you need within those first 70 minutes and then ride it out from there? And it's just so frustrating because anybody you listen to is telling you the same things, right? Anybody who has half of a technical idea about how this game works is saying, hey, you don't have enough width on this side. You're trying to play three tens. You have a false nine and two tens, and they're taking up the same space. You don't have a left foot on the left side. Like, I don't I know they're on Twitter. Like how frustrating must it be to be a player and they're like the fans know what we should do, but the
yeah,
manager doesn't, right? Like I'm like God bless them because I could not keep a straight face in these interviews where they're asking if I should play at left back or left wing and I'm Bukayo Saka and he's like I'll play anywhere for the team, but it's up to the manager who sucks. Like 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 he's a better person than I am because I would just start laughing. But I I think Mano is a step in the right direction.
yeah, definitely.
You know, I think he's a step in the right direction, and but it all comes down to tactics and something's got to give, right? You can't have these three guys standing in the same spot and expect it to work effectively, right?
Mm,
So either Kane is going to hold the depth against the top of the line, Foden's going to stay out wide, or they've got to change the personnel. And it doesn't seem like the personnel is changing. So for the love of God, please, at least not on the top line, right? At
yeah,
least have somebody doing a different tactic so that we're not in the same situation. I think it's a situation where ultimately the quality will shine and they'll make it through, but it's going to be in spite of the tactics, not because of it. And I think that's going to limit England's ability to continue in the tournament. But
yeah.
that's enough on that. I think we should move on to the last match of the round of 16, which is Switzerland, Italy. And I'm really interested to hear about this one because I think this is a dark horse for potentially making it to a final
Mm,
for a team that doesn't wear green. What do you
yeah,
think?
yeah. I think it will be really
I mean, they
interesting.
don't have green in their flag. is what I
Yeah,
meant.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is that
Yeah, so it will be interesting because I think both teams. I'm leaning towards Switzerland here because again, it's the dynamic of a team that's well organized, and okay, they've got some individuals, but it's they play as a team and there's complementary people. I think it's that thing when we're noticing a bit of a trend throughout the Euros where the ones without the big names don't feel the need to they don't have names to have to force into the team, so they can just play the best team dynamic, which then allows them to play as a cohesive unit and get results. And I think Switzerland are one of those where they don't have those massive names. The only ones would you'd say would not massive, but the bigger names are Shaka, Akanji, and Sommer in goal. And those three are like they're all just going to start, and they're in positions that it doesn't matter what the system was, they would play. So um, they're definitely one. I think that they could get a result against Italy. Italy without Calafiori, who's had a really good tournament. But it'll be interesting to see how that changes the dynamic of the centre backs because Bastoni has been phenomenal as well, and he's also one of those that carries out of defence, but he's carried a bit less because Calafiori's done it more. So now they're going to have possibly Buongiorno or I think it'll probably be him actually. He's had a decent season for Torino. I think there's a lot of teams are looking at him. I think there's better options, but he's one of the newer ones in the squad, and he might instead be further back whilst Bastoni carries the ball, and that might allow Bastoni to really shine because honestly, that guy on the ball was ridiculous. Like his passing is like one of the best midfielders in terms of passing from deep. So that'll be interesting. But again, it's one of these Italy, like with Netherlands, if they get their team selection right, then they could get a result here. One of
Do you think
the
that
problems.
Italy the offensive firepower to get the goals that they need?
Yes, this is the thing. Um, their lack of pace is a big thing for Italy. That's not everything in these tournaments, but if they're if you're allowing them to get in your half, and then you can quickly counter, which Switzerland can do that. They've got the players that can go end to end all game like that. Um, and they've got someone like Ndoye as well, who's had a decent tournament where he could be a threat on the counter like that. Whereas with Italy, they've got Chiesa, they've got Scamacca's ball striking is ridiculous. We've not seen the best of him yet, Scamacca. And with someone like him, it just takes a moment where the ball falls to him at the perfect thing, and he just hits it first time into the top corner. That could easily happen at any moment with a player like him. Just quite hot and cold, really. And then Zakagni, who came off the bench in the last game, he like maybe you could argue that he could start now. I think off the left, you look at him and he could make a bit of an impact because he is quicker out of the attackers and he's a good finisher. I mean, you saw the goal; it was a great finish in the top corner. So maybe that would be the front three. I think that would make a lot of sense. I think Chiesa's really good on the right side. So that would be a better threat. And with guys like Pellegrini is one of these where uh, Pellegrino he can get into the box like a box crusher and he can be a threat in that way. So they've got options there. It's just the depth. I think after those guys, some of the guys they've got on the bench aren't up to the same level. There's like Retegui but there's not many that they can look to really change the game on the bench. Just more midfielders and defenders that most of them are more a bit more defensive as well. I think the main more attacking ones, more dynamic ones will probably start. So yeah, I think with Switzerland, we might be looking at a Shaka masterclass here, which I wouldn't mind. He's one of those you just still love to see you do well.
He's somehow turned into a very likable character, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
ironic based on his history. But yeah, I guess my concern is around the way that Italy play, and I don't think they necessarily bring out the best in Scamacca with his qualities and his abilities. And
yeah,
then Chiesa, he's definitely lost a step or two since that injury, and he's a great player, but I just don't think he has that like next level X factor that is gonna necessarily change the game every time. So it'll be interesting. Who's your pick for this one?
I want to. I think Switzerland here. So I'm thinking Romania, Turkey, England, Switzerland.
All right, I'm
Um,
writing that down.
yeah, I think that's what I'm going with. They're all a lot of them. I find it hard to pick because with both Netherlands and Italy, I think it depends on what their team selection is. Almost
Mm-hmm.
when you see their teams, I'll know whether they'll get a result here or not. But I think based on how they've selected their teams before, I would expect them to suddenly do something completely different. If they're still Italy are still playing Cristante in midfield and Di Lorenzo at right back, both of them have not been the best and they don't add a lot in attack. Um, and then Netherlands still not quite getting the midfield right, not playing some of the guys that are in such good form. Yeah, I can't see both of them getting a result if they play the same type of teams. That's the big tell there. And from England's point of view, I think if Mainu's in midfield, the same team plus Mainu for Gallagher, I think that's good enough to get a result. Um, but I'd like to see a bit more change in that personally. Um,
Yeah, I mean, me too. I just don't think we're gonna get it.
oh, I don't. Yeah,
But
I'm being a bit
I think
unrealistic.
yeah, it'll be an interesting round. We got tomorrow. The big matches are Switzerland and Italy is going to be the first match, and then you got the hosts Germany and Denmark, which we went over in the first half of the round of 16 preview. And I think you're going to see some big names going home out of this round. One out of France and Belgium, obviously. Um, I think the other favorites on the other side will probably move forward, and then I think you could potentially see the Netherlands and um, and potentially Italy, and then if England have a bad day, you never know what can happen. There's this, who
Yeah,
knows?
if England
So
don't make it to the final, there'll be outrage at any point. If it's this round, the next round, the semis, there'll be outrage. There's no team there on paper that because there's this general thing that we're the best team in the world and that we should beat everyone for some reason. There's this general thing in the media. As soon as you don't
right,
beat Spain 5-0, then Southgate this out, the team this whatever. I'm like, oh gosh,
yeah,
I
yeah.
can't wait for it.
It's coming. I
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
coming.
think that there's a high likelihood that they're gonna win the tournament.
Nah,
So whenever the implosion happens, it's gonna be delightful, at least from a neutral standpoint. But thanks for hopping on today, Ben. Uh,
thanks. Yeah,
Follow us on Twitter, on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, at We All Follow Pod, and we'll talk to you again soon. Cheers.